بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما وعملا وإخلاصا وفقها وتواضعا وخشية يقربنا منك برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين يا رب. Alhamdulillah, we've reached lesson number 3 where we are talking about what happens if you have pure water and it mixes with water that has najas in it. So for example, I have 3 buckets of water, I have 3 vessels of water. One of them is 2 of them were pure. I had put clean water in them. One of them had dirty water in it. I had washed my dirty clothes. They had najas on them, for example. And I washed them in that pot. Now I forget which pot is clean, which pots are clean, which pot is dirty. Same goes for clothing. I have clean clothing and dirty clothing. I forget which vessels contain a clean clothing and which contain the dirty clothing. Now, of course, the fuqaha here, they're talking about in the situation where you do not know and you are unable to figure out which one is which. If you can figure it out, then go figure it out. There is no question if that's the situation. Here, the situation is that you can't figure it out. You've been unable to figure out which one is which. So what do you do? So here today we will see this what we do in this situation. So just a quick breakdown. The first thing is that there's water that is mixed, pure water that is mixed with dirty water, and there is clean clothes that are mixed with dirty clothes. In the case of water, if most containers are pure, for example, we have 5 containers of water, 3 of them are clean, 2 of them are dirty. This is the case where most containers are pure. Can I use this water for wudu? Yes. Can I use it for drinking? Yes. Can I use it? Yes. There's no question about it because most of the water is pure. If half of the water or most of the water is impure, I have 4 vessels of water, 2 are pure, 2 are impure. What do I do here? When it comes to drinking, like we said, for the most containers is pure. If the most containers are pure, you can use it for drinking. If you can use it for wudu and ghusl. If most are impure or half are impure, you only use it for drinking. And again, of course, you only use it for drinking if you have no other water. If you have other water, then you drink that water. Okay, now what about wudu? What do I do for wudu? What do I do for ghusl? I take the water, I pour it out. I use it for my plants, for example. I use it for something else. I don't use it for wudu, cleaning, drinking, anything like that. For drinking I can if I have no other water. But I pour it out and I make tayammum. Because we'll see in future classes that if someone has to make wudu, someone has to make ghusl, they have no water, they make tayammum, and that's enough. So in the situation that most of the water or half of the water is impure and you're unsure which is which, you only use it for drinking in a situation where you have no other water to drink. If you have other water, drink that. In terms of wudu and ghusl, pour the water out, make tayammum. Okay. Now, when it comes to clothing, if most of the now here for clothing, it doesn't matter if it's most of the clothing is pure. The same ruling if half of it's impure or most of it's impure. What do you do in that situation? You wear the clothing because it is better to wear clothing than to be naked. So, do you pray with that clothing? Yes, even if most of it's impure, even if most of it is impure. Do I go out in those clothing even if it's mostly impure? Yes, because it's better for you to go out wearing clothing versus being naked. And this is the chapter before we start. So let's see what Imam Ash-Shumbulani rahimahullah ta'ala wa nafa'ana Allah bi'ulumihi fi ad-darain radiyallahu ankum says here. He says, Faslun fi at-tahari. The section, this is in the commentary, fi at-tahari, in the commentary, using one's judgment. And we, for example, label the title as using judgment in admixing of clothes or water, whatever. He says, لو اختلط أوان أكثرها طاهر تحرى للتوضؤ والشرب. If vessels of water. Now again, important to keep in mind when we talk about mixing here, we're not talking about that dirty water is going into clean water or clean water is going into dirty water. What we're talking about is that there's vessels of water. This one is pure, this one is clean, but we're unsure where each of them is. They're mixed in the sense that you cannot tell which one is clean, which one is impure. But in of itself, the pure water is completely pure. There's no najasa in it, and the dirty water has not had clean water mixed with it. So here we're talking about they're mixed up while being complete in and of themselves. Pure water, dirty water. لو اختلط, if vessels of water, or we'll see in a moment, clothing, are mixed, most of the vessels are pure. So we've talked about there's 5 vessels of water, 3 are clean, 2 are dirty. You use your judgment. Taharra, you use your judgment. Taharra, he uses his judgment for wudu and for drinking. And of course, if you say wudu, then ghusl falls in it as well. And use your judgment. It's not that you have to know for 100% sure, but that you have a preponderating reason to say that yes, this is clean. This is I can use this for drinking or for wudu, as well as for drinking. So for wudu, ghusl, and drinking. Okay, what about if most of it is dirty or half of it is dirty? Again, the graph here. He says, وَإِنْ كَانَ أَكْثَرُهَا نَجِسًا لَا يَتَحَرَّى إِلَّا لِلشُّرْبِ. The second case, water, half or most is impure. Single really goes for if it's half, most or half. If most of it or half of it is najis, then you do not use your judgment. Meaning that you don't use your judgment to make wudu and for ghusl, as well as for water. But he mentions then that no, you can use it for drinking. Sorry, not for water, for drinking. You don't, if most of it or half of it is impure, you only use this water for drinking. Again, in the case that you don't have other water. If you have other water, drink that other water. So you don't use this water except for drinking. What do? You pour out the water and you make tayammum for ghusl and for wudu. Okay, then what about clothing? He says, وَفِي الثِّيَابِ الْمُخْتَلِطَةِ يَتَحَرَّى سَوَاءٌ كَانَ أَكْثَرُهَا طَاهِرًا أَوْ نَجِسًا. When it comes to clothing that are dirty clothing, which is mixed with clean clothing, again, in their own vessels, you use your judgment, always. You always use your judgment when it comes to clothing. Regardless, if most of the vessels are pure or most of them are impure, doesn't matter. You always use your judgment, because there is no replacement for clothing when it comes to covering your awrah. You either wear clothing or you don't. You either cover najasa or you don't. If you have najasa on your clothing, it's better to use that clothing versus walking around naked. And then we see in our next lesson wells. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين.